Welcome back, boys and girls. I'm so excited to be here with you today for another lesson. Today we're going to look at Sleuth, Unit 4, pages 36 and 37. So I can't wait to read our story, so let's get started. Today we are learning to read like a detective so that we can better understand characters' feelings in the story. And we have two very important words for our story today. The first is cattle drive. And this was just back in the day when they needed to move herd of cows or cattle. They had cattle drives which used cowboys, and they herded the cattle to keep them together and to move them from location to location. And the second word is chuck wagon. And this was a very important item that was on a cattle drive. And basically, boys and girls, this was just a wagon that was a kitchen on wheels. You'll see on the slide that there is a wagon, and you'll see that there's metal containers, and those contain things like flour and baking soda to make bread and biscuits. We'll see a big container of water. And so in order to eat when they were on these cattle drives, because they could take many days to move the cattle from one state to another, for example, they had to eat. And so in this wagon, you had all your food supplies, and you also took along cooks who cooked all the food for the cowboys. And as always, we're going to read like a detective. We're going to look for clues. We're going to ask questions, and today you're going to ask questions about how the character is feeling in the story. And you're going to make your case and prove it with evidence from the text. Let's watch a short video on characters' feelings.
Character feelings versus character traits. Character feelings are the emotions a character has throughout a story. These can change very often throughout the story. A character can go from being very happy to then being very sad all in one story. Feelings change more often and do not describe how a character acts. A character can go from being happy to mad to worried to confused to frustrated to excited. Character traits describe how a character is on the inside. Character traits describe the personality of a character. Character traits are steady, but may change from the beginning to the end of a story if the character has gone through some changes. Some character traits could be lazy, honest, selfish, helpful, determined, creative, disrespectful. There are many character traits to describe a person.
Created using Powtoon.
All right, boys and girls, let's read our story, and let's see how our characters' feelings change throughout the story. This is called Curtis the Cowboy Cook. Curtis was bored and unhappy. So there's his feelings at the beginning of the story, bored and unhappy. He thought when he was hired to work on the cattle drive that he'd finally get to be a real cowboy. But the cowboys treated him like a kid. So he was unhappy, and he felt sad because he felt like they were treating him not his age, but like he couldn't handle the job. The cook, Dusty, let Curtis help him, but Dusty was so busy he barely had time to talk. Curtis just watched and did chores for the cook all day long. So he was bored and unhappy because he was watching, and he did the same boring tasks. I bet he had to do the dishes. What do you think, boys and girls? The chuck wagon always went ahead of the slow-moving cattle. That way, dinner would be ready when the cowboys got to camp each night. Dusty and Curtis started the cooking fire. As they carried water from a creek, Dusty slipped down the bank. He landed hard. Curtis helped Dusty limp painfully to camp. Then Curtis got to work with Dusty directing him. He cut the salt pork and arranged it in deep pans. He scooped beans into the pans, covered them with water, and set them on the fire to boil. Soon the contents of the pans were bubbling, and the smell filled the camp. As the sun went down, the tired, hungry cowboys arrived. One bite of the hearty pork and beans was enough to convince them that Curtis was born to be a cowboy cook. So boys and girls, how do you think Curtis felt at the end of the story? Do you think he still felt bored and unhappy? I know, I agree with you. I think he doesn't feel that way anymore. I think he feels happy and excited because he was able to show Curtis that, you know what, I can be a cowboy cook. And so I think he's now happy and excited and proud. So just like in the video we saw a minute ago, remember it talked about how our character's feelings can change throughout the story? We saw that with Curtis. He went from bored and unhappy to feeling excited and proud. And so boys and girls, as you're reading your stories, your fiction stories, think about how the character's feelings change in the stories that you're reading. And as always, boys and girls, don't forget to read today. Take that 20 minutes and enjoy a book to read to yourself or to read to others. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow.